We are live.
We are live, okay. Good evening. At this time, I would like to call to order the February 5th, 2024 meeting of the Village of Warwick Board of Trustees, and I'd ask you to please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Cheney,
Present?
Trustee Foster,
Present.
Trustee Kalor,
Here.
Trustee McKnight,
Present.
and Mayor Newhart is absent this evening.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask for a motion for the acceptance of the minutes of the meeting of the January 16th, 2024 work session and village board meeting.
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Authorization to pay all approved and audited claims in the amount of $246,806.97.
So moved.
Second, please. Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we have a public hearing on a proposed local law entitled Local Law to Amend the Village Code by enacting a new Chapter 60 entitled Community Choice Aggregation Program. Would the Deputy Clerk please read the public hearing notice?
Please take notice that the Village Board of the Village of Warwick will hold a public hearing on the 5th day of February, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. at Village Hall, 77 Main Street, Warwick, New York, 10990, on a proposed local law number 1 of the year 2024, entitled A Local Law to Amend the Village Code by enacting a new Chapter 60, entitled Community Choice Aggregation Program. The purpose of this local law is to promote the public health, safety, and welfare by establishing a community choice aggregate program, allowing village residents to incur lower utility costs. A copy of the proposed local law is on file in the office of the village clerk and is available for inspection by interested persons during village clerk's business hours. And the proposed local law has also been posted on the village's website, villageofwarwick.org. The village board will, at the above date, time, and place, hear all persons interested in the subject matter hereof. Persons may appear in person or by agent. All written communications addressed to the board must be received by the board at or prior to the public hearing.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'd ask Trustee McKnight to give a quick overview of what this legislation is about.
Okay, so we opened the public hearing in the January 16th meeting. Left it open. It's my understanding today is the second day of that. So for those who haven't seen past discussion of it, so what the Community Choice Aggregation, or CCA, is, it's a New York State sponsored program where municipalities can join up with other municipalities to pool together their purchasing power for the purpose of receiving an aggregated rate for electricity. Now, it's supposed to do a couple things. One is supposed to try to lower costs for the community, but also it gives access to renewable energy. So if you look at some of the other communities in the area, such as Tuxedo Park, a number of other ones, they've already gone through this program. They have, the track record is they do have a slightly lower rate in their electricity, but they're also taking advantage of hydroelectric power from upstate New York. It does earn them additional credit for some of the New York State energy programs, which can lead to grant funding. One thing to note is that it is an opt-out program, so the municipality would automatically, there's a number of months of education goes into this. And then the municipality, if voted on and go into an agreement with an administrator, such as Juul Power, who we've heard from before, if we get into that agreement, before then, customers have the choice to opt out if they want to. If they don't proactively opt out, they will be automatically opted in. They can opt out at any time. O&R would still be the delivery mechanism, so everyone will still have their Orange and Rockland bills. It'll look the exact same. The difference is that we are aggregating with other communities into one cohort. So that's the CCA program in a nutshell. So let's open it up to see if
Okay,
there's
yeah,
any
yep, yeah.
public comment.
Okay, is anyone in the public would like to weigh in on this? Now's your opportunity. All right. Seeing none, then.
I will make a
you
motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Next, we have a public hearing on a proposed local law entitled, "A Local Law to Amend Village Code, Chapter 135, Vehicles and Traffic, to add traffic safety regulations and traffic control devices." And I'd ask the deputy clerk to please read the notice of public hearing.
Please take notice that the Village Board of the Village of Warwick will hold a public hearing on the 5th day of February, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. at Village Hall, 77 Main Street, Warwick, New York, 10990, on a proposed local law number 2 of the year 2024, entitled "A Local Law to Amend Village Code, Chapter 135, Vehicles and Traffic, to add traffic safety regulations and traffic control devices." The purpose of this local law is to promote the public health, safety, and welfare by amending Village Code, Chapter 135, Vehicles and Traffic, to add traffic safety regulations and traffic control devices. A copy of the proposed local law is on file in the office of the village clerk and is available for inspection by interested persons during village clerk's business hours. And the proposed local law has also been posted on the village's website, villageofwarwick.org. The village board will, at the above date, time, and place, hear all persons interested in the subject matter hereof. Persons may appear in person or by agent. All written communications addressed to the board must be received by the board at or prior to the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. And again, trustee McKnight, would you
Okay,
just give
yes.
a quick overview of what this
To
entails?
introduce this, this law would allow the village to put no standing signs on Pond Hill as it approaches West Street. And the reason why this is in front of us today is because the school buses stop on West Street because there's no other outlet coming into the whole Pond Hill neighborhood. So as a result, there tends to be a number of cars in morning and afternoon pickup that tends to fill the street on Pond Hill going into that neighborhood. And what that does, it tends to cause visibility issues. West Street, we know, has seen really a lot of traffic right during those hours, and people tend to speed. So the concern is paramount around safety, where there are cars turning from West Street onto Pond Hill, lack visibility from children who might be coming to the bus, and vice versa. Those coming from Pond Hill onto West Street, turning left or right, also don't have that visibility. So the idea is and I put the number of feet on either side of the road so that cars aren't impeding the visibility, and it allows for safer passage for the students. I did pass this in front of Chief Rader, who did send someone down and acknowledge the safety issue as well. So that's how we came to this.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'd like to open this up for the public to weigh in on it, if there's anyone that's interested. Okay.
Nothing?
No, good job, Tom.
All right. Seeing that there's no one speaking.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you. Next, we have a public hearing on a proposed local law entitled "Local Law Amending the Village Code of the Village of Warwick by repealing Chapter 66, Film and Video Productions, and reenacting the same with revised provisions." Would the deputy clerk please read the public notice?
Please take notice that the Village Board of the Village of Warwick will hold a public hearing on the 5th day of February, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. at Village Hall, 77 Main Street, Warwick, New York, 10990, on a proposed local law number 3 of the year 2024, entitled "A Local Law Amending the Village Code of the Village of Warwick by repealing Chapter 66, Film and Video Productions, and reenacting the same with revised provisions." The purpose of this local law is to promote the public health, safety, and welfare by amending the village code to revise the provisions to the village code regarding regulation of film and video productions. A copy of the proposed local law is on file in the office of the village clerk and is available for inspection by interested persons during village clerk's business hours. and the proposed local law has also been posted on the village's website, villageofwarwick.org. The village board will, at the above date, time, and place, hear all persons interested in the subject matter hereof. Persons may appear in person or by agent. All written communications addressed to the board must be received by the board at or prior to the public hearing.
Thank you. Trustee Foster, would you give a brief overview of what this entails?
Sure, and just the film code overall, the purpose is to both maximize the investment in the community through film, which can encourage tourism and also is itself a revenue stream, but also minimize disruption because filming activities can be quite disruptive. And we made the decision to amend the law due to feedback that we had received both from the clerk's office as well as from the Office of Orange County Film and Tourism. And so the feedback that we were getting was that our code was both difficult to navigate and it was unclear, and then it also created obstructions to film collaborating with the village. So we had a bit of a reputation for being difficult to work with because of the way that the code was structured. So we underwent a process last year of collaborating with Orange County Tourism and Film, as well as with the clerk's office to understand kind of where there were sticking points. And then we got feedback also from Orange County Tourism and Film about which codes kind of were working, which areas kind of had the most smooth working relationships and also limited disruption. So we reviewed codes both from inside and outside of the state, as well as the code from the town of Warwick. And we assembled a new code, and the majority of the changes have to do with clarity of definition, clarity of requirements. Also, there would no longer be a requirement for the board to approve. Each time somebody wanted to film in the village, that could go before a committee that would consist of the mayor, the liaison to economic development and tourism, and then some others as necessary based on kind of the complexity of the film. And then also provided clarity about who was excluded from the code, because previously you had things like student films and other activities that are historically excluded, being required to pay fees and receive permits. So those are kind of the major changes, and we're not making any adjustments to the fees at this time. We're really just moving forward with a clearer code, and then we're also updating the application.
Okay.
And
Thank
it was,
you.
I would add to that, Carly, we had a board work session on November 20th. So if anyone is interested in seeing the deliberation process, it's captured in those minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there was quite a lot of research and coordination. And actually, I think we started this process in
Far earlier.
2022. Yeah.
So at this time in the public hearing, I'll open it up for any comments or input from the public. Yes, name please.
John Christensen. Is it gonna make it easier or harder on the film industry? Or is it kind of a wash or whatever?
It should be easier in this,
Okay.
from a clarity perspective. So, yeah,
Okay, because they do bring chaos to the village or town.
Yeah.
But they also bring an influx of a pile of money.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very
And it's
clear.
one of those, where I've been involved with a lot of it through my friend Jerry Hewitt was in stunts and everything else, and the amount of money they spend and leave is a lot. Yes, it's a lot of disruption and everything else, but I was just curious if it's, which side it's on.
It'll be easier to work with the village, but like, as I said before, the goal was both to kind of maximize investment and limit disruption. So it also makes it really clear, you know, what the parameters are. Yeah.
It's hard, the industry, they're rough to work with, but they're real good and they spend money and leave money.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any others looking to speak? Okay. Could I get a motion to close the public
I'll make a
hearing?
motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Okay, moving along. Announcements. First announcement is a public notice reminder for snow removal. Would the deputy clerk please read that? You got it? Handy.
Dear residents of the Village of Warwick, as we navigate through the winter season, we kindly remind you to avoid pushing or placing snow or ice onto public streets, highways, or right-of-ways. According to Section 117-24B of our Village Code, it's important for the safety and accessibility of our community to keep these areas clear. We appreciate your cooperation in maintaining safe and passable streets for everyone. Let's work together to ensure our village remains a safe and beautiful place during the snowy months. Thank you for your understanding and adherence to this aspect of our community standards.
Thank you. Next announcement is a notice of completion of tentative 2024 assessment roll and hearing of complaints. Would you please read that one?
Notice is hereby given that the assessor of the Village of Warwick, County of Orange, has completed the tentative assessment roll for the current year, and that said assessment roll was timely filed as of February 1st, 2024, and that a copy thereof is available on the Village of Warwick's website, villageofwarwick.org, or in the clerk's office during regular business hours, where it may be seen and inspected through February 20th, 2024. Hearing on real property assessment grievances. On Tuesday, February 20th, 2024, between the hours of 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., the Board of Assessment Review for the Village of Warwick will meet at the Village Hall, 77 Main Street, to hear and examine all verified written complaints in relation to such assessments, and the application of any person believing himself aggrieved thereby. Complaint on real property assessment forms, RP 524. With all supporting documentation must be filed with the clerk's office on or before 8 p.m. on February 20th, 2024. The RP 524 complaint form may be found on the Village of Warwick's website, villageofwarwick.org. Assessor consultation appointments. The assessor or her designee will be available until Tuesday, February 13th, 2024, by appointment via telephone to discuss tentative roll assessments. To schedule an appointment, please contact the assessor through the village clerk's office at 845-986-2031 or by email clerk@villageofwarwick.org. Appointments must be scheduled and confirmed in advance.
Thank you. Next announcement is Village Clerk Raina Abramson awarded New York State Association of City and Village Clerks certification as registered municipal clerk. And I would just like to read a short paragraph from the letter to the mayor that tells us about this. This designation recognizes the professional competency of Raina Abramson and is granted only after an applicant has demonstrated that they have met the high educational, experience, and participatory standards established by the NYSACVC. And just like to congratulate Raina on that. It's a nice feather in her cap. She does great work here at Village Hall as the clerk, and we're really happy and to have her as part of the team, and she brings a lot to the table for us.
It was a nice spot in the advertiser.
Yeah, it
about
was.
this.
Yeah.
That was nice to see.
Okay. Next is correspondence, and we have a letter from John Christensen stating that Yesterday's is applying for a New York State liquor license. And John's in the audience. Is there anything you'd like to say at this time?
Yes.
I'll give you that opportunity.
For 18 years, whenever I went to renew my license, I was just a simple form I used to have to send to the village, registered return receipts. And I did that for 18 years. With the new license, it's not technically a new license, we're trying to transfer it and everything else. So I knew that I had to send a public notice to the village, and I did, but we handwrote it because my computer was down, and later on I find out there's an actual form that the state likes you to submit. So I did that, and I'd like to deliver it today.
Okay, that would be good. You can give it to the deputy clerk, and she will.
Yes,
Reach out
it's
to you
just-
tomorrow.
Yes, okay, it's just
Yep.
one of those where.
Yep.
I'm so used to doing it, and it's old school of being, having a license for 38 years,
Right.
okay? All
Right,
right,
good,
thank you.
thank you. Yes, we've got, in
you.
fact, we have two similar application requests that are on our agenda tonight,
Okay.
so.
If anybody wants to take a look at it, come on down, as long as my
Oh,
black
yeah.
truck is there, take a look.
I would like
Okay,
that.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mike.
Right, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Night, John.
Bye.
All right, under discussion, we have the Spring 2024 Village Newsletter. Trustee Kalura, would you like to lead the discussion on this, please?
Yeah, so this will be our third quarterly newsletter. We did one for fall, one for winter. This will be our spring edition, which I would love to hit mailboxes the first week in March. I'm waiting for some press releases that I don't have yet because I'm a little early. So if I have to push it a week, I might do that. But I'm hoping everyone got to take a look at the list of content, and if you wanted to discuss it.
Little League registration was over February 1st,
Okay.
so maybe we can put something in about the parade and the opening day ceremonies instead.
Okay.
I think we should spend, I appreciate you putting Earth Day and Clean Sweep. There are probably 6 or 7 green-related initiatives going on in the village in a 6-week span.
Send them over to me.
So, just a point of recognition, Melissa Shaw-Smith of Wickham Works has done a great job organizing a lot of this and kind of bringing this into, an Earth to Warwick type of campaign where it brings different community partners. So I think it is worth, Mary, I don't know how much space we're working with here.
We have a lot of space.
Okay, but I think it's
Like
worth
8
an
pages.
entire page to that because there's at least 6 or 7 that we could mention.
So that says 2, 4. So this is, so we're gonna have another flap out of this.
Okay.
So we have a lot of space.
All right, great.
I can reach out to Melissa, and see how much information she can get to me by.
It's like a 2-month.
the
Yeah,
16th?
it's like Earth to Warwick, right? That would be the headline.
Right, it's a 6 or 7 week
Yeah,
kind of time period
Yeah.
where there's different events each weekend.
yeah. It's
So
cool.
that's cute. So it'll be a calendar. Is she gonna have a logo and just like a press release?
Well,
It'll
do
be
you want to
on-
mention the green calendar and?
Yeah, it'll be on Hello Warwick Valley.
Okay. So who am I gonna get the information from? Melissa or you?
Let Carly and I sync up on, because
Okay.
we have a
Okay.
couple threads going.
Okay, so my deadline is February 16th, which is next Friday. But if we have
That's
to
fine.
push it, my only hesitation in pushing the deadline is I like to go over the proof at a meeting in public. Do we have to do that? Or is that something that I just.
That's a question for the mayor to answer, I would think.
Okay.
Although I would think that we could distribute it, I don't know that it requires an action of the board.
Okay.
Yeah, it
I don't
hasn't
think it
been.
does either.
It hasn't been requiring an action.
Or we just discussed it?
We
Yeah,
just-
we
we didn't
discuss
vote
it, we
on
don't vote
Yeah.
or
We don't
approve
do
anything.
anything.
yeah.
Okay, all right, that was my only hesitation.
Regarding grants, there's one that I know of that we should hear about within the next 2 weeks. Is there anything else? Because we had a spotlight on the grants and activity the last issue.
Yeah, but I don't think we actually did we have the approved Transportation Safety Action Plan? I don't think that was approved yet. So that didn't make it into the winter.
Right, no.
So that's a
when
big
was that?
deal. The slow down Warwick.
Yeah, that came out like I think the day before I was
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah, so we
you-
could put that in there.
Can you send that information to me?
Yeah, I have a couple, can I also share some other things too?
Yes,
Is that okay?
please.
Okay. So the list of code improvements now also includes film and CCA, because we just did those. And then I was hoping that this month we could actually,
Well, before you move on, so the
Yeah.
CCA, it's still, we had to enact a local law just to jumpstart the program. We haven't signed or anything, and I don't
Maybe
want to
wait.
cause confusion that that's happening without people knowing, because there's going to be a long process of kind of informing the public.
So do you want to give me a blurb about that? I don't have that on my list. I can add that.
I
think Tom is saying we can wait until
think we
we.
push that
Okay.
because we have to sign with an administrator who's going to help it. So come the summer time frame,
You got
that'll be
it.
perfect timing for that.
All right.
And they'll do a lot of engagement.
But I just think it's too premature to.
Okay,
put on this one, given the deadlines.
sounds good. And Rena's working on a list of the village policy changes and updates and the village code changes and updates.
Yeah, all about the, do people care about some of the back office policy updates?
I think so.
I mean, what does the rest of the board think?
Well, I mean, a paragraph that lists, or a couple sentences that lists everything, kind of.
Okay. Yeah, just
I mean, I think it's important that they know we have a cash management policy. They know we have a procurement policy. We don't have to get into a lot of detail, but it's just, it's kind of our fiduciary responsibility in a lot of those things.
Yeah.
So, doesn't have to be much. But. Go ahead.
Oh, the other things I had was, I know we had talked about last time that this time we would include some kind of statistics from the Slow Down Warwick, or Way to Go Warwick.
Yeah.
So I sent you a link to kind of that paragraph for your consideration.
Okay.
Did you know that over 75% of crashes in the village are caused by driver
Oh, is that what
behavior?
you sent me last time?
Yeah.
Do you have the data, the link to the data on the website that we can?
Oh, I can link
reference
to
to?
I can go ahead and just link to the plan. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay,
We
because
give a
I wasn't comfortable publishing that without the data that people could actually go look at.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that what we discussed, right?
I didn't understand that, but I do now. So I'll just provide the link to the plan.
Sorry if I was.
Would it make
Yeah,
sense,
it's okay.
Carly, to include some of the speed data that we've captured?
Yes.
I mean, that's only a subset because we're about to order a few more of those devices, and so that'll enrich the data set.
Well, I did include. So I included I didn't include like a. If we wanted to, we could make a chart that shows that stuff. But I just included text. It just says, did you know that over 75% of crashes in the village are caused by driver behavior, whether it is speeding, inappropriate passing, intoxication, or following too closely? Bad behavior causes most of our crashes. Last year, the village tracked speeding on Forester, South Street Extension, Galloway Road, and West Street. On all of these streets, people regularly drove over 40 miles per hour at all times of the day on any day, indicating the problem is being caused as much by our residents as by our visitors. The village speed limit is 25 miles per hour. On Galloway Road, the speed limit is 20 miles per hour in the school zone, and speeding over 40 miles per hour remains just as frequent during those times. Help keep our neighbors, kids, and pets safe. Go the speed limit.
Good.
We all play a part and can help make Warwick roads safe for all.
Okay, no, I think that captures it.
And I can provide a link to the plan that includes, the source of that data. And then I also had I thought it would be great to put a get involved section that kind
Okay.
of included, that the village is
Volunteers.
initiating task
Okay.
forces to help implement the comprehensive plan, guide decision making, and increase awareness and participation in important village matters. All meetings are open to the public. Find out meeting dates and come participate by looking on our website and following
Yeah.
on social media.
We
And
have
then
all
it
that
lists
stuff.
those. Yeah.
We have that.
And then also, during the last newsletter, it put, it said, you can locate village plans here, and then it just talked about 2 of the plans, and so I just included information about 2 more, just
Okay.
in case. I thought that would be nice.
Okay.
And then the final thing, I'm sorry. I thought, so we've been talking about how we think, a lot of the applicants for village positions, we're not really getting a lot from inside the village, and that it doesn't seem like a lot of village residents are taking the civil service exam. And so I thought we could use the newsletter to raise awareness about civil service and the civil service exam.
Okay. I did a Facebook posting last week
With
about the
village-
exams. Well, no, it's
From your
it's-
personal,
well,
or,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Because the county came out with
New test.
announcement about 6 or 7, I think,
Nice.
tests that are coming up.
Can you send that to me?
Yeah.
Include?
Yeah, I couldn't, honestly, I was trying to figure out which exam they would need to take online, and I couldn't figure it out, so I was
Oh,
like,
for you mean on the county website?
that was not where I was looking, so clearly
Yeah,
it
so
would be
the county-
beneficial to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, so that's good. And then Tom, did you say we're getting more of the speed signs?
The device, yes, we have budgeted for 2 more.
Wait.
One was through a grant, one was budgeted.
Wait a minute. Is that so? There was one budgeted, and then there's a different one through another grant? Because we have 2
Right.
through the Transportation Safety Action Plan.
Oh, then that, I didn't count those 2.
3?
So that's
So we have
4
4?
Well, when do we have access to those funds?
in a couple months.
Okay, I'm gonna order the other 2 now.
That's
then we
great.
already have
Because then we'll
access to
have 5.
Yeah, and they are a good deterrent also when people see
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You're including in those two, the one that the county funding came in.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's one of the 2, okay.
so that's a total of 5?
That's great.
So where is it now so I can go take a picture of it for the newsletter? It was on Orchard, but it's not there anymore.
Not there.
It's
It's
not great that we have.
it's on Main Street.
I mean,
Oh, where is it then?
I'll find it.
Is,
What
is there
Heidi
one, Tom,
doing?
is there one up at this point?
There
I
is.
thought there was.
Where?
I'll tell you in a second.
Must be where I don't travel too frequently
I
because
know,
I haven't seen one in a
it.
while.
It was on Orchard Street for the longest time. Okay, and then will we have the dates for the budget hearings by February 16th? Do you know?
I can ask Sadie tomorrow.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. There's a lot going on, so it's good
I
that we have
know.
more space.
We do, and now I'm kind of thinking if we should actually push it. As long as it's out by the election, the local election, I think we're good. So we usually need a week for printing and distribution. So even if we push the deadline to the 23rd, that gives us. So does that make everyone feel comfortable? Is that okay if I push a week?
I don't have any.
But that won't give us the opportunity to go over final proofs in the meeting. But we decided that that's okay, right?
Yeah.
All right.
We're good?
Yeah, we're good. Oh, does anybody have any input on colors? This is pretty superficial, but I tried
Something
to do
springy.
a fall theme,
Green,
or
like
like a sage green.
like a lighter, maybe like a springy green.
Yeah, I had like a light purple. I wasn't too crazy about it, but
Oh,
it's
purple might-
different. Yeah, like a lilac and like a blue. Okay, thank you for your input.
All
We
right.
could also consider just black and white. I mean,
You're kidding, right?
not really.
No.
Also, just a quick note that so one of the things we did include was newsletters in the budget for the Slow Down Warwick, so that's so.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I have with the budget that before I was on the board, the budget that was passed for newsletters last year without ever actually going through and doing it, I've been able to work with. It's worked out doing,
Quarterly.
different quarterly and different sizes, and so it's good.
That's great.
All right, opportunity for public comment, and seeing an empty room, I don't think we're gonna receive any comment tonight, at least on agenda items. We'll see what happens at the end of the meeting. So we'll move into motions. First motion to accept the bid from TAM Enterprises, Inc. in the amount of $242,850 for the Pole Barn DPW project as per recommendation of Village Engineer David Getz. $140,000 of funds are appropriated in Budget Code A 1640.2350 in the fiscal year 2023-24 budget for this project. Any questions,
Yeah.
comments?
Second and discussion.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, second. Yeah, thank you, trustee
I was-
McKnight.
yeah.
Okay,
I was going to propose that if we haven't identified the source of the remaining funds, I was going to propose that we table this motion until we identify the source of remaining funds.
So you want to make a motion to table?
Yes,
Is
but
there-
it sounds
is-
like Tom
is-
also had
Is
some
there a
questions.
second to that motion? And then we can have discussion.
Yeah, oh.
So there's no second at this point in time. All right, so we'll have a discussion on the motion itself. So let me start out. So obviously the bid that we received, the low bid that we received exceeded the budget by 102,000. The infrastructure reserve fund that we have, most of that is going to be spent on well number 3 in the Maple Avenue pump station. There's like over $1 million in it, but it's gonna get consumed pretty much. And that's only gonna leave like 200,000 that's undesignated. And that might be a little bit tenuous relative to, maybe needing it for either one of those projects if they come in at a, higher than what's expected. One of the questions that was raised, well, can we, fund it over 2 fiscal years because maybe they're not going to be done by June 1st. And the bid documents establish a time of completion, and I'll just read it. Time is of the essence of this contract. The bidder agrees to commence work on or before April 1st, 2024, and to fully complete the project by May 15th, 2024. And so basically that would put it all in this fiscal year, for which we'd have to then find funding for. So any comments, any
But
further
we-
discussion?
We can't approve a motion to accept a bid if we haven't allocated the funding for it yet, though. That's the,
I would agree.
okay.
I had more basic questions. Can we, I know this has been an ask for several years now.
Yes.
Right? Can you touch on, what is the value of the pole barn to the village?
Well,
I think I know the answer, but I want to,
from my perspective, it will allow us to move the offices out of the trailers that we bought used probably 10 years ago, and aren't in the best shape, to a more permanent location within that pole barn. And then it will also allow for the storage of equipment and materials that need to be out of the weather. The smaller equipment like mowers and things like that is my understanding what's gonna take place.
so to preserve the property that's already
Yes,
purchased and.
and provide better working conditions for our staff that work out of offices at least part-time.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the pole barn is something that we need. I do see we have the 3 bids, and what's the reason why it's so much over what the estimation was?
I'm not sure.
Like, where did the original estimate come
Specifically,
from?
I don't know. I'm trying to think where the original estimate came from. I believe it was quotes that were received to try and just get a budget number. And I'm not sure the quotes were necessarily all encompassing of the work that needed to be performed.
Should we be calling it DPW offices instead of pole barn?
Well, I mean,
So I'm
it's
wondering
office,
if the-
it's offices and equipment storage, it's equipment and
Yeah.
vehicle storage, but it's predominantly, the offices aren't the major part of the structure. It's, and pole barn just describes the structure, but it might be better to,
It might
For the
help to
public
kind
to
of increase,
understand.
right, and also kind of to help with the urgency of funding it, right? Because if they are, if their working conditions aren't,
well, I mean, it's probably, something that we could take another year for, but, who knows whether it's gonna be $280,000 or $300,000 next year, so. I know, the 3 bids we received, the low bid was roughly 242,000, the second low was 327,000, and the high bid was 471,000. So, That's a pretty big range.
I'm trying to recall, was this in the budget for this adopted
Yes,
fiscal year?
yes, at $140,000.
So on a separate note, I think we need to improve our estimating capabilities. 'Cause it also seems that this isn't the first.
Yeah,
Well,
but
the
costs have
costs has been
increased
going
really
up.
dramatically
Yeah.
in a short period of time. Like across the
Yeah,
industry.
I understand. It just seems to be a
Yeah.
common theme that we are underestimating across the board.
Yeah, but
Right?
if
So we
we,
should build some of that into the estimation. Either way, look, it is for, yes, better working conditions, for the offices. They really don't have any offices down there right now. But also to protect the investments that we have in the equipment. I mean, it does make sense. I just, I think about we're $100,000 shy.
Right, and I think at this point, we at least need to figure out how we're gonna make up that difference. And we're not prepared to do that tonight, so, we should either, I guess at this point, either have a motion to withdraw or vote it down, which by voting it down doesn't mean it can't be brought back.
Well, Carly, you had the emotion earlier to table it, right? At this point, maybe that's,
you want me to make it again so
Yeah.
you can second it? I'd like to make a motion to table the motion.
second.
All right, any further discussion on that? Okay, so.
Well, actually,
yeah.
before we vote, so I would like to get a sense from our treasurer's department about what they think is feasible, because it's in this fiscal year. And secondly, what are some other areas that we have as we near the end of the fiscal year in DPW that we could potentially cut? And you may have the answer on that, because I also see a couple motions tonight for various things that,
Right, that's water, so different, totally
Different
different
bucket.
bucket that we're drawing out of.
Yeah, because this is the
Can't-
general
can't
fund
mix
bucket,
it.
right?
Yes, this is the general fund
We
bucket.
can't, yeah. And we can't ever, not, the water and wastewater fund cannot support the creation of DPW offices.
Right.
Okay, because they don't touch the water and the wastewater.
We could
as well.
probably put a little money into it because the water department offices are gonna be there, in that building,
Well,
which
right.
they're in the trailer
And there's
now.
a-
Yeah,
Question.
how many staff is that out of the total staff?
it's like five,
Two.
right?
Well, it's three.
Three.
Three. We
Three?
have three water employees, but really, the only one that's gonna be using the office is the supervisor, the water distribution supervisor. So,
And out of how many total staff?
I think we've got 11 now.
So at least 10%, it seems like 10% would be reasonable.
But the DPW supervisor
Well,
oversees the water
their-
operations as well.
Their,
so they're-
their equipment is up at the water barn, which is at the reservoir filtration plant, so they don't have equipment.
But they'll be sharing the office.
They will
It
have
just-
space within the pole barn, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like because we do have a dedicated revenue stream toward that, and they will be using some of that space, it wouldn't be quote fair to the general revenue fund for it to fund wholly, this
There-
space.
that's,
I agree.
that's something to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, did we vote on that motion yet? No, we did
No.
not.
No.
We're still in discussion. Okay,
I'm ready to vote.
all right. Any further discussion? Okay, so we'll have a vote on the motion to table. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Okay, item number 2, motion to authorize payment number 7 in the amount of $30,180.04 to TAM Enterprises, Inc. for the South Street Sidewalk Replacement Project. The scope of the work covered by this application was included in change order number 2, previously approved by the village board, which includes the sidewalk construction between Lawrence Avenue and Galloway Road. Payment also includes TAM's construction of the new sidewalk from Second Street to Third Street. Funds are appropriated in budget code A5110.4400 in the fiscal year 2023-24 budget. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Second discussion, please.
Thank you.
I'm not disputing the amount. I knew last time this came up, that is the exact amount that was predicted. But just going back to the thing this was another project that came in over what was estimated, and they gave us the original estimate, right? So I guess I think about, do we have any mechanisms in the contract that such that if it goes over a certain amount, that we trigger that discussion earlier, right? Or how do we minimize the potential for us overpaying for these projects, especially when look, us estimating maybe under what a pole barn and offices should cost, that's one thing. But having an engineering firm give us a quote and then it comes in, far above. I understand costs are fluctuating, right? But what kind of mechanism do we have in our contracts to try to minimize the risk to the village?
Yeah. Technically, it's basically an estimate of probable cost. That's the way the engineers term it. So it's not really a quote. You really don't know what you're going to get until you go out and receive bids for the project.
And also, I understand when you're in the field, you come across a pipe, something pops up.
Yeah,
I get that as well.
And in this case, there were some needs to make changes in the Second Street to Third Street section because there was additional work that was required, I believe, relative to the wall and also relative to how far the sidewalk extended along Second Street. And that was the reason for one of the change orders. The other change order was had to do with the section from Lawrence Avenue to Galloway. And that was new sidewalk. Community Development gave us an additional $75,000 that it had available that it needed to have spent on a qualifying project. We were able to secure those funds and then negotiated with the contractor that we had on site and already mobilized for the section on South Street from Second to Third to do that Lawrence to Galloway section. And I don't believe there were any change orders related to that, but the change orders were, as I explained, that it was extra work.
Right. Okay. So rationalize. I would just be nothing we're going to solve today. I'd be curious going forward. We see a lot of the same vendors we use over and over again, right? To do work for us. I'd be curious which ones are consistently, underestimating, right? Versus those that are giving us more true costs, because we run into this with some of the same usual suspects.
Unless, there are two ways
You
that
see what
that
I'm
you
getting at
sometimes
here?
approach it. I do, and sometimes the bid is based on unit prices and estimates of quantity. And when that's the case, the quantity estimates can change based on what actually happens in the field. So that's the result of some of the change orders that we see. So, I understand what you're saying, and it's, not an easy thing that we have to deal with, but once we get a bid, unless there's a change in the work that they're being asked to do, that bid is solid.
Yeah.
And the changes could be quantity, or the changes could be, just, okay, you did an extra 30 feet of sidewalk that wasn't anticipated by the engineer, because when you got to that point, everything that was beyond that point crumbled, and you had to, you had to fix it, you had to make it right,
Okay.
so.
Okay. I think we should try to gauge the confidence factor of the estimators
Well,
going forward. If they say, I have no idea what we're going to run into, we should maybe account for that versus if they're,
some of the, bigger,
Pretty darn confident.
bigger
Contingency.
projects, you
Yeah.
usually have a contingency line item in there so that
Right, like the
you're
wastewater.
covered. Yeah, yes,
Which
yeah.
was funny actually, because I thought that not to rehash this, but the contingency that they had used, I thought was low when we had that conversation. Yeah.
Well, contingencies, interesting because the further along you get in your design, the contingency should be coming down.
Smaller, yeah.
Yes.
But the contingency that they had done in their initial
Right,
estimating
yeah.
when they walked us
Yep.
through it
Yep.
seemed really low to me. Like, seemed like you would have been much further along in the design. Yeah,
To get to that point.
yeah.
Okay, any further discussion on motion number 2? All right, hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Number 3, motion to approve the purchase of 2 new metal detectors for the water department in the amount of $1,980 from C.A. Turner Company, Inc. for the purpose of locating street valve boxes and curb boxes per the recommendation of Water Distribution Supervisor Christopher Bennett. Funds are appropriated in Budget Code F.8340.2350. Could I get a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion.
Any discussion? Sure.
Yeah, what are these for? I'm looking at
Ba-
Chris's
basi-
note.
Basically, they're to aid in finding the curb stops. So in
Well, how do
many
they do it
cases,
today?
these are replacements. These are new ones to replace their older ones. These, I would believe they would be, a generation newer in terms of their ability to do it.
I would request moving forward so it starts by a letter from the water supervisor or DPW supervisor, whomever, to the mayor and the board requesting upgraded equipment. I would request going forward that we understand a bit more about, well, what's existing, what's in place, right? How old is that equipment?
Right.
Why is it not working? I'm not asking for
But
a lot, but
yeah.
something just when I'm reading the agenda and preparing for this, I'm looking at his letter and it's 3 lines, right? And I'm trying
Right,
to
and it was
understand.
budgeted for in 2022-23 budget, so we had a bite at that.
discussion.
That was
Then-
budgeted for last year.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
same
okay.
thing with the next, yeah.
Yep. So, any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, aye?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Carried. Number 4, motion to approve the purchase of 1 new pipe locator in the amount of $3,400 from C.A. Turner, Inc. for the purpose of tracing and locating underground water lines for markouts and repairs per the recommendation of Water Distribution Supervisor Christopher Bennett. Funds are appropriated in Budget Code F.8340.2350. Could I get a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Discussion?
So, yes, please.
Yep.
So similar newer equipment, but this was in the budget
Yes.
meetings last year, so this was already.
And part of the
Requested.
purpose of this is we get called on for construction projects to mark out our utilities, the location of them, so that if somebody's digging a foundation or doing any kind of work in or near the street, then we have gone out and we have said, you need to be careful in this area because this is where our utilities are. And this is the equipment that allows us to do that. So it's for our protection, and once we mark it out, if the contractor
Yeah.
breaks it, he fixes it.
I mean, it makes sense. I'm wondering kind of what's the current solution and why is it not working? Because this is 3,400. The one before was nearly 2,000.
Yeah,
It's just the asset that has been used. It's a new pipe locator, right?
yes.
What do they do with the old items when they're replaced? Do they sell them or do they recycle them or exchange?
Sometimes they
them?
keep them as backups. Other times they would have to dispose of them through a sale. Yep.
I was just curious.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Number 5, motion to auction the following surplus of the Department of Public Works equipment owned by the Village of Warwick on govdeals.com. 2004 Ford F-250, 2003 International, 2008 Ford F-250, two 2004 Ford F-350s, a 2005 Ford F-350, and a 1989 Case 480 as per the recommendation of DPW Supervisor Mike Moser.
Second and
Second.
discussion.
Yep.
Are these vehicles being replaced?
They have already been replaced.
Were they replaced with electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles?
No, we don't have any in our fleet.
Oh. Is there a plan to replace vehicles in the future with electric or hybrid?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. If we choose to do that, or if that becomes part of the conversation, we can submit for reimbursement from the federal government.
Okay.
So
That's-
it could be worth doing a cost comparison.
There are considerable rebates. Yeah.
Yeah, we can get up to 43,000, depending on the size of the vehicle, we can get up to $43,000. So depending on the type and size of the vehicle per vehicle, and then it's not competitive, you just submit. So, for example, if we purchased those vehicles last year and they were hybrid, we could submit by March 15th or April 15th, and we could be reimbursed.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's certainly something to discuss with the DPW supervisor, and could be a discussion amongst ourselves during the budget workshops.
Yeah, that's what I was
So-
thinking, because I know it didn't come up when we met with Mike this
Right.
last week, so.
And there is an option for, they have this thing as part of the Climate Smart Community program where there's a green procurement policy where it's not saying you have to buy that, but that you have to consider it
Yeah.
and put it into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
So we should take a look at that. Again, it's not committing us to anything. Where I have, just in the interest of being very, having good attention to detail here, if we're gonna auction off these assets, I have the fleet inventory. The DPW helped compile that. It was part of, we submitted to the CSC program for points. So I have all the VIN numbers, I have all the vehicles. In this list of what's written here, there are two that I could not find on the inventory. One is the 2003 International, and the other one is the 1989 Case 480. I don't have records of
Case
those.
480 is either a bucket loader or a backhoe.
So it wouldn't.
Wouldn't be with the trucks.
Well, no. I have another case on here. That's not the VIN number.
Okay.
So I'd like us to be correct in the VIN numbers and actually knowing which vehicles are going to be auctioned off
Well, and
before we let go of any assets.
I would expect that this is correct, and your list might be incomplete because they were taken out of service before that list was
Yeah, I would
created.
imagine. Some of these are really old.
Like the case you've got there listed, what's the year of that?
The one I have is 2005.
Okay,
The other one says an 89.
this was an 89, yeah.
Okay. The other one is the 2003 International. I have a 2008 International dump truck. I've got another 2014, another 2016. Anyway, I asked for the official inventory and VIN numbers, and so that's what I'm working off of.
Right.
Which I have submitted as an artifact to the state. And what I'm seeing here, it doesn't match up.
In 2 instances.
So something's off.
It sounds like your inventory that you received from DPW is missing 2 of these vehicles or pieces of equipment.
Maybe.
The oldest ones.
So
Is that you're missing?
The oldest of this list.
Yes, maybe they're just taken out of commission.
Yeah, maybe they're just put aside saying that we know these are going away, so.
And they just decided
I
to
mean,
auction them all together?
this is the
I don't know.
accumulation, I believe, of many years of not going to auction with our surplus equipment.
Well,
So-
there were a few that were sold several years ago.
Yes. So how would you like to proceed?
There were, hold on one second. There were 11 vehicles that were sold at auction in March 2020. So, 4 years.
And any of them the same as these that maybe didn't get sold?
They're not. They're all
Okay.
different.
All right.
So, I mean, what if we just table the motion so that we can update the lists and ensure that everything is in alignment?
Is there, I guess the question I would ask, is there a specific date for the Gov auction site that it needs to be in? Is this time sensitive? Can this,
I don't know the answer to that. I would guess it's probably not time sensitive.
listen, I'm all about taking these retired vehicles and putting them out to auction and reducing the fleet size. Love that. If they truly need to be disposed of and we've already replaced them. I just want to make sure, since
Yeah,
they're
no,
assets we're
Tom, you have a
disposing
good
of,
point,
that
that-
they're the right ones.
Well, and also we do need to make sure that all of our records and the records that our departments are keeping are in order. And so, I mean, you have a good point.
I'll make a motion to table this.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion to table? All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor of the motion to table? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Carried. Motion to grant permission to village employee Antonio Rivera to carry over 5 vacation days. Can I have a second? Second, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. 7, motion to grant permission to allow DPW employees to attend the free UDIG New York Spring into Safety event on March 5th, 2024 and March 13th, 2024 from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. with registration starting at 7:30 a.m. at the Newburgh Armory, Newburgh, New York and Walk Hill Golf Course, Middletown, New York. Purpose of this event is to refresh New York State Code Rule 753 and safe digging practices. Employees will be split between the 2 days as to not impact workday coverage, as per the recommendation of DPW Supervisor Mike Moser. Could I get a second? Second, thank you. Discussion? All right. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Number 8, motion to authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement for repayment of water and sewer charges with the property owner at 218 Homestead Village Drive, Warwick, New York, in the amount of $719.57 to be paid in 8 quarterly installments of $89.95 and authorize the mayor to sign the same. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Trustee Foster, the floor is yours.
Resolution adopting Village of Warwick Local Law Number 3 of 2024, whereas the Village Board has before it a proposed law, local law, entitled A Local Law Amending the Village Code of the Village of Warwick by repealing Chapter 66 Film and Video Productions and reenacting the same with revised provisions. And whereas the following due notice, the Village Board held a public hearing on the proposed local law, and whereas the proposed local law constitutes a Type 2 action under SECRA, now therefore be it resolved as follows, that the Village Board hereby adopts the said local law, and that the local law shall be effective upon filing in the office of the Secretary of State in Albany as required by applicable law.
Second? Someone like to second it?
Second.
All
So
right,
roll call.
thank you. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, a roll call, please.
Trustee Cheney?
Yes.
Trustee Foster?
Yes.
Trustee McKnight?
Yes.
Trustee Flora?
Yes.
Motion to grant permission to close Park Avenue between Galloway Road and Birch Street on Thursday, May 9th, 2024, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. with a rain date of Thursday, May 16th, 2024, for the benefit of the Park Avenue Elementary School's Someone Special Warrior event.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Motion to grant permission to close Park Avenue between Galloway Road and Birch Street on Friday, June 7th, 2024, and 9 a.m. to from 9 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. with a rain date of Friday, June 14th, 2024, for the benefit of the Park Avenue Elementary School Sports Day Park Palooza event.
Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Motion to grant permission to close Park Avenue between Galloway Road and Birch Street on Friday, June 14th, 2024, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. for the benefit of the Park Avenue Elementary School's Family Picnic Crazy Ticket School event.
Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Motion to grant permission to Winslow Therapeutic Riding Center to hold the Duck Derby event on Sunday, May 19th, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. in Linear Park by the Waywayanda Creek and the South Street parking lot, with setup to begin 8 a.m. and breakdown to be completed by 3 p.m. Completed park permit, proof of insurance, and security deposit have been received.
Could I get a second, please?
Second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Motion to grant permission to Wickham Works to hold their Tree Cycle 2024 event at Stanley Deming Park on Saturday, April 20th, 2024, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. with a rain date of Sunday, April 21st, 2024, with setup to begin at 10 a.m. and breakdown to be completed by 7:30 p.m. Permission includes use of the restrooms, water fountains, electricity, the pavilion, the handball court, the band shell, where a DJ will be set up, and the basketball court area, where no more than 2 food trucks will be parked. Permission also includes 6 parking cones for loading and unloading near the entrance to the park, 4 recycling bins, and 6 garbage cans to be placed around the band shell, pavilion, lawn area, and basketball courts. The use of 10 village-owned tables and 50 village-owned chairs. In addition, the DPW to set up 4 8x4 platforms. Completed park permit, proof of insurance, and security deposit have been received, pending permission from Park Avenue Elementary School to use the school parking lot, pending proper insurance requirements from all participating vendors.
Could I get a second, please?
Second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Fire Department to use the Veterans Memorial Park Pavilion for a department family picnic on Saturday, July 27th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Permission includes use of alcohol, inflatable rides, electricity, pavilion lights, restrooms, and village-owned tables and chairs. Completed park permit and proof of insurance, including host liquor liability and coverage for inflatable rides, have been received.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right. Hearing none. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Fire Department to use Veterans Memorial Park for a 9/11 memorial service on Wednesday, September 11th, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Request includes use of a sound system and electricity near the entrance of the park. Completed park permit and proof of insurance have been received.
Second.
Second, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Valley Chamber of Commerce to hold Operation Clean Sweep on Saturday, April 27th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., including permission to use the far end of the Chase Bank parking lot for a shredding event and other collection stations. Completed facility use permit, proof of insurance, and security deposit have been received.
Could I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Valley Chamber of Commerce to hold the 31st Warwick Apple Fest. 34th. Sorry. Next year will be fabulous. 35th. 34th Warwick Apple Fest on Sunday, October 6, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the area between Lewis Park and Stanley Deming Park, encompassing High Street, South Street, Railroad Avenue, Railroad Green, the Chase parking lot, and South Street parking lot. Event setup will begin at 6 a.m. and breakdown will be complete by 7 p.m. Request includes use of Veterans Memorial Park, the Oakland Avenue lot, and First Street for event parking. Use of 9 village-owned stage platforms, use of electricity and setup of tents on Sunday, October 6, 2024, as per their letter dated December 7, 2023. Completed facility use application, proper insurance, detailed map, and security deposit have been received. Approval is subject to the Warwick Valley Chamber of Commerce providing the Village of Warwick with a complete list of vendors and individual vendor insurance certificates naming the Village of Warwick as an additional insured.
Could I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Motion to close South Street to Lawrence Avenue, Railroad Avenue, 2nd Street, 3rd Street, High Street, Bank Street, Clinton Avenue, Park Lane, and Parkway for the benefit of Applefest 2024 on Sunday, October 6, 2024, in coordination with the Warwick Police Department and the Village of Warwick Department of Public Works.
Is there a second?
Second
Any
discussion.
discussion? Yes.
Looking at the application, there's a couple things that just don't make sense in terms of road closures. So if you look right around there, the idea is to have parking up, so someone would turn onto Burt Street, right, to kind of use that field, but you have Park Ave, Parkway, Park Lane closed, but not Park Place, which is adjacent to it. And then there's reference of an elbow between Burt Street and Park Lane, which doesn't exist. There's a whole block of Park Place in between. So I think what they were intending to do is what they did last year, where all of the park named streets in that grid were closed, but talking about putting stanchions on the elbow or the corner of Burt Street and Park Lane doesn't make sense because those two don't connect.
Okay.
Elbow.
I'll see if I can find the exact.
Yeah, because it says South Street to Lawrence, Railroad Avenue, 2nd Street, 3rd Street, High Street, Bank Street, Clinton Ave, Park Lane, Parkway.
And it should say Park Place, right? That's what you're,
Well, right, because that's what they had last year. But then they also said how, where the stanchions. Now I'm looking for the right
you-
page out of the 115.
They don't have
agenda.
parks. I think you're
Says
looking at
42.
page 88. And then 89. Park.
Mm-mm. Hang on, I know it's getting late, but just give me 1 minute. Let me.
I'm trying to.
find this.
following roads.
This is the road that you're
wasn't-
saying you want, that also needs to be closed, Park Place? Right there, right?
Well, yeah, well, Burt
Because that's
Street.
not.
I think they would have it closed
Park
anyways.
Place. I mean, they're basically you
They're saying that by.
access Burt,
Yeah.
on Burt Street
Correct,
to
I
the
can't
parking
find it.
lot. And that's as far as you go.
It just seems like it was an omission. Or an oversight
There's
there.
Park Lane here on page
No.
88.
But it's
Not
Park
Lane,
Place.
it's Park Place.
Oh, Park Place.
It's just because there's too many parks. Park Ave, Park Place, and Parkway. All in that same little
Burt Street.
vicinity. Yeah, because they don't mention Park Place at all, but maybe they're thinking
Okay,
that.
look on page 91. Look on page 91. Where it says stanchion drop-off locations. The square bullet,
Yeah.
4, at the top of the hill from Stanley Deming Park in between the parking lot and the park, right at the elbow of Burt Street and Park Lane, but those two don't meet.
They must be
Park, that
Lane.
must be
Park
Park
Place.
Place.
Park Place. And then down the tree line of Park Lane, again, that's not where I
They
think they
mean
mean
Park
Park
Place.
Place the whole time.
Park Place, yeah.
And they can't, well, the other thing is, we should fix that in here because you can't shut down Park Lane because that's where a lot of people park and there's a lot of apartments down there where people live. If we allow shutting down of Park Lane, that's a whole street where a lot of people do drive up there and park.
So could we approve as amended, and then Jen, you could coordinate with them tomorrow to just make sure that the correction flows
Yes.
through?
Right, because the street where if you're in Forester, you turn You
Yeah.
turn at Wadeson's, that's Park Lane. That's always been open.
Mm-hmm.
And shutting that down would mean you've got all those apartment buildings where no one can get to.
It's,
I think they meant to say Park Place.
that's been open?
I think so.
I think it's been open too.
Because it becomes a dead end. You can't go anywhere once you get
But there's
to
a bunch of
Parkway.
there's a bunch of driveways to the
Well, no, I
buildings.
realize that.
But doesn't that open up the entrance to Veterans Memorial Park too for parking in the shuttle bus?
Well, I'm talking about the other end.
Oh, maybe
If
Park Lane.
you come in Park Lane from Waitson's, from Forrester Avenue, you can only go to the apartments. There's nothing
Right.
beyond that you can do.
Because it's blocked. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, so maybe they do
So
also
maybe-
mean Park Lane to block off.
Yeah.
Because that becomes a pedestrian.
local traffic only.
traffic.
Because the cars can't go any further than the parking.
Well, that should also be mentioned in this then.
So do we want to approve pending corrections to well, no, this is a road closure.
It's all
one.
about the road closure. I think
Should we-
we've
should we
already
just-
said
We still have
Apple Fest. We've
time.
already kind of voted on
approved?
that.
Yeah.
That's approved.
Yeah.
So just the road closure, we can just have them
Table it
resubmit
and then
it.
resubmit, yeah, okay.
So a motion to table. that-
Okay, second.
Motion to table this motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to table number 19, and it's been seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of tabling the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Carried.
Motion to rescind the motion approved on December 18th, 2023, granting permission to the Albert Wisner Public Library to use Stanley Deming Park to hold the 2024 Children's Book Festival on Saturday, October 12th, 2024, from 11 to 4, as per their letter dated November 29th, 2023.
Ju-
Permission to include,
Is it sufficient to read that? Because we're just rescinding that and we're,
yeah,
'cause
thank
it's just
you.
the date?
Fine. Now I have to figure out where in this very long paragraph, though, I can pick up.
No, I mean, this was just a rescind, so I think, do we need to
Oh,
read the whole thing?
I-
The next one
This
is.
is a different
it's
one.
just a
This is
change.
the-
It's just a
Well,
date
I
change.
mean, it's a change of date, but this is the way it's presented, so yes,
All
we
right.
need
Sorry,
to
Carly,
read
please,
it
you're on a
through.
roll. Go for it.
Unless we want to make a motion to waive the reading of this motion.
I would make
Okay,
a
I'll
motion
make a
to
motion to waive the reading of the motion, to
Second.
rescind a motion.
Second.
Okay.
Discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so I will now ask for a vote on the motion, or discussion on the motion, as it stands, to rescind. Okay. Hearing none, I will call the question. All in favor of the motion to rescind, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Carried.
Okay, now I'm gonna read this one. Motion to grant permission to the Albert Wisner Public Library to use Stanley Deming Park to hold the 2024 Children's Book Festival on Sunday, October 13th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. as per their letter dated November 29th, 2023. Permission to include all three food trucks to be parked on the grass between the creek and the handball courts on the west side of the park. Additional 6 to 8 garbage cans placed near the food trucks and festival tents. A 3x12 banner to be hung on the fence by the entrance of Stanley Deming Park at the intersection of South Street and Parkway from Monday, September 30th, 2024 through Sunday, October 13th, 2024. Festival tents to be set up beginning at 9 a.m. on Friday, October 11th, 2024, and removed by 1 p.m. on Monday, October 14th, 2024. Use of Stanley Deming restrooms, Uncle Brothers Band to perform a free children's concert under the bandstand from 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. during the event in coordination with DPW Supervisor Mike Moser. Use of designated parking in the large section of the grass behind the basketball courts and additional temporary accessible parking spaces designated by the village on Parkway, close to the entrance of Stanley Deming Park if possible, for the DPW to provide spotlights for the setup date of Friday, October 11th. Approval contingent upon providing the Village of Warwick with certificates of insurance naming the village as an additional insured from all food truck vendors at least 30 days prior to the event, and obtaining permission of the Warwick Valley Central School District to use the Park Avenue School for parking and providing such documentation 60 days prior to the event. Completed facility use permit, proof of insurance, and security deposit have been received.
Second.
Thank you.
Quick discussion?
Discussion, sure.
I was just gonna say, Jen, can you also flag that, in addition to garbage cans, that we should have recycling bins,
Okay.
and so marked?
And that should probably be included on all of the public use applications, right? If you're gonna have an event, because there's always a request for refuse.
Yeah, I
Cans.
mean,
Separate
maybe it
ones.
could just be implied that if they're asking for garbage, that we
Yeah, I
need
always
to
assumed that
supply.
was implied
Yeah.
both.
Good catch, Carly.
Is that something that we should look at adding to the application form?
Do
Well,
we
that's what I
think
was
we need
suggesting.
to?
I don't,
Because it could just be implied, like if they ask for garbage cans, that we are supplying
Yeah, my
like garbage and
experience-
recycling.
I think we do
My
anyway.
experience is I always, like, every time I've had an event with the DPW, I remember always getting a garbage and a recyclable.
Yeah, it's just that it seems like lately we really haven't had adequate, yeah, recycling.
further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Motion to approve a refund in the amount of $166.53 for the fiscal year 2021 to 2022, 2022 to 2023, and 2023 to 2024 tax bills to the owner of 49 West Street, Warwick, New York, SBL 210-12-8, due to a clerical error per RPTL Section 556 per the request of Village Assessor Deborah Urick.
Okay,
Second.
second, thank you. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? Carried. Trustee McKnight,
I have a motion to acknowledge receipt of the standardized notice form from the New York State Liquor Authority for an on-premise liquor license for the Rusty Goat Grill located at 46 Main Street, lower level, Warwick, New York, 10990, and authorize the village clerk to submit a letter notifying the New York State Liquor Authority that there are no objections to this notification and application.
could I get a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
I have a motion to acknowledge receipt of the standardized notice form from the New York State Liquor Authority for an on-premises liquor license for the CBC Beer Bar located at 93-95 Main Street, Suite 2, Warwick, New York, 10990, and authorize the village clerk to submit a letter notifying the New York State Liquor Authority that there are no objections to this notification and application.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
I have a motion to return the Zoning Board of Appeals escrow balance of $515.19 to Douglas and Vicky Berry for variance approval at 4 Woodside Drive. All invoices have been paid as per the email from Zoning Board of Appeals Attorney Ashley Torrey.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Resolution adopting a local law establishing a community choice aggregation program. Whereas, therefore, the village board has before it a proposed local law entitled, "A Local Law to Amend the Village Code by Enacting a New Chapter 60 entitled Community Choice Aggregation Program." And whereas the proposed local law constitutes a Type 2 action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. And whereas, following due notice, the village board held a public hearing on the proposed local law. Now therefore be it resolved as follows, that the village board hereby adopts the local law, and 2, that the local law shall be effective immediately and shall be filed in the office of the Secretary of State in Albany as required by applicable law.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, I'd just like to say one thing, because the way I see the law written, tonight was the last night where there's a required public hearing. And the board's gonna be making some pretty important decisions relative to what the public is being offered as participants in the community choice aggregation. And I would just like to hope that there's commitment by this board to seek that input. I know there's a process that allows that to happen, but once the board has decided on how we should proceed, that we then hear from the public on that. I think that's, you know, a very important component that is, you know, kind of missing in the law that, the standard law that kind of is laid out for us.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I think that the process will be very rich from that perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
clearly there are, you know, the early aspects of it are, but I just want to make sure we see that, you know, when the board deliberates and, you know, makes a decision as to how, you know, how it should be structured, you know, what not Jewel, but what service provider and what mix of power we receive or we offer to our residents who are going to be part of this, that, you know, there's a good opportunity for them to come
Weigh in.
before us and, you know, let us know their feelings about it.
And I agree, it has to be that, right? And
Yeah.
I don't see this as, this is just jumpstarting the process. Down the road, when we actually decide, it's going to be based on the community input. That's how I see it.
But yes, and there's a lot of outreach that goes with it. I recognize that, but there's really no, you know, required opportunity for a public hearing. So I not that we'd have a public hearing, but at least an opportunity to receive public comment.
We could have another public hearing prior to making the next decision. I think you're right. I don't think it's required to have another public hearing. It's required to have public engagement.
Yes,
But not a
definitely.
board level public hearing. It's not a
Right.
requirement before the potential ultimate step
Yeah.
of making that decision.
Yeah.
I agree. But we could, I mean, we could require that.
And I don't know that we need to do that now, and I don't know that it needs to be a public hearing per se, because that may establish a different level of requirement for the board. But it, you know, certainly some sort of a public input session, you know, prior to us finalizing that decision, I think is in the best interest of the community as a whole.
I agree, 1,000%.
Good.
We're on board.
All right. So we have a motion and a second, and this is a roll call vote. So if the deputy clerk would please do the roll call vote.
Trustee Cheney?
Yes.
Trustee Foster?
Yes.
Trustee McKnight?
Yes.
Trustee Calora?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I have a resolution adopting Village of Warwick Local Law Number 2 of 2024. Whereas the Village Board has before it a proposed local law entitled "A Local Law to Amend Village Code Chapter 135 Vehicles and Traffic to add traffic safety regulations and traffic control devices." And whereas following due notice, the Village Board held a public hearing on the proposed local law. And whereas the proposed local law constitutes a Type 2 action under seeker. Now therefore be it resolved as follows: that the Village Board does hereby adopt the proposed local law, and 2, that that said local law shall be effective upon filing with the Secretary of State in Albany as required by applicable law.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'd ask the deputy clerk to do a roll call vote.
Trustee Cheney?
Yes.
Trustee Foster?
Yes.
Trustee McKnight?
Yes.
Trustee Calora?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We do have a motion in addendum number 1, and trustee Foster, I think it's appropriate for you to read that, please. or make that.
Motion to revise the age for employment eligibility from 16 years old to 15 years old for the Village of Warwick Summer Recreation Program as per the recommendation of Recreation Director Ron Intrini.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, please.
Yes.
What was the, to the extent that you could say, what was the
Reasoning?
nature of the conversation with the labor attorney?
I am not aware of that discussion. The mayor, I believe, was supposed to have that, and I had gotten
Yeah, I
it.
didn't get a
Did you get
report
any
out.
feedback? No.
I didn't, was there a conversation?
He said he spoke to one person and said it was okay, but I
Yeah.
didn't get the name of that person and there wasn't any backup associated with it. So it was just to make the addendum.
Because last time we tabled it in order to have that conversation,
Yeah.
which
Well, it
was
sound-
had, but
it
none of us had
sounds-
the details.
Well, it sounds like it was had and that we
It
could
was
proceed
fine,
with it.
yeah.
That it was okay to proceed.
There was no issue.
So I'm sorry I don't have further details.
Yeah, and I should probably have that detail as well. And then,
But
but
It-
I'm comfortable moving forward, you know.
Yeah, because they probably start getting applications soon before school's out.
I believe Ron said that they generally start the middle of January,
Yeah,
so.
it's like time sensitive.
So can we say,
All right.
like, pending, if, you know, any increased paperwork that might be required? What's your concern? Are you concerned that there might be a legal issue? Because I know we
Well-
know
well,
there's
right,
not a
so-
legal issue.
So last board meeting, we tabled it because we didn't have information from a labor attorney. And whereas that conversation happened, we still don't have information of what
Well,
ensued in that conversation.
I guess
And we're hearing it.
the
secondhand.
conversation was had and there was no reason to put a
Delay,
pause on or not do this. Correct, Jen? I mean,
Correct,
that's.
he said he spoke to someone.
He spoke to our labor attorney, which is Keenan Bean. And we're able to proceed on the basis of them not
Having an issue.
grinding it to a halt. So. Any further discussion? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
Okay, so one abstention. All right. Public comment on non-agenda items. And again, the room is empty, so we won't have to worry about that. Final comments from the board.
I have two things. One is that the local infrastructure hub has started doing a series of trainings again for a variety of programs that could be of interest to the board. I did sign up for the elective pay trainings, and that kicked off today. And actually, it's really quite aggressive in terms of the number of meetings that they have. They have bi-weekly stuff. So I think that they're really trying to make sure that folks understand what's going on there. So I'm taking notes and I'm happy to share them with the board. I'm hoping that I'll be able to join them. But if anybody else is interested, you know, I sent an email, but if you want more information, I'm happy to share it. And then the second thing is, I know we had been discussing doing potential capital improvements for for this raise application round. I do have a meeting. I'm going to meet with the county on Wednesday, and thank you very much, Barry, for making that connection. I think that we will not have the data that's needed to do a benefit cost analysis for that. So what Tom and I were talking about this weekend was crafting the scope so that we would get everything that we need in order to do that in the future. Because we have to get the pedestrian counts, and getting those in the winter, I feel like we wouldn't get a high rate. Although I was on the sidewalk yesterday, and just like the sidewalk in front of Village Hall was like bustling. However, it has to be like the specific sidewalks that we would be submitting.
Okay.
So the number of, I don't think that, I am gonna talk to the county about it, but I don't feel confident that the number of people without cars would actually get us there. So, but I think that with the Transportation Safety Action Plan and the Slow Down Warwick, I think we're gonna have a lot of data, and then in the future, we'll be able to submit those. So, yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Trustee Kalura?
Yes, on behalf of the Warwick Valley Prevention Coalition and Warwick Cares, they are teaming up and having an event this Sunday, February 11th, at the Warwick Valley Community Center, which is 11 Hamilton Avenue, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. It's community care cards. Warwick Cares would like to invite senior citizens and teenagers for an afternoon of crafting Valentines. There's also going to be bingo and refreshments and prizes for bingo. So I just wanted to give a little bit of background. Judy Batista, last year when she and her team were creating the signs for May Mental Health Month, she met with different groups in our community, and when she met with the senior citizens and the teenagers separately, she discovered that they have a lot of similarities. Both of those groups are very open and very chatty and very social, so she'd been really wanting to have them come together. So Valentine's Day is a perfect thing. Everyone will be crafting Valentines, and I've arranged for the Valentines from the teenagers to go out with Meals on Wheels and also to the hospital. And then the community center is hosting a teenage event the following Friday, a punk rock prom, and we'll leave the Valentines from the senior citizens there for the teenagers. So this will be a fun event, and if you're not a teenager or a senior citizen, you are still welcome. No one will be turned away. And again, that is this coming Sunday, February 11th, from 2 to 4 p.m.
Okay, thank you. I do have one announcement. I meant to make it in the beginning and at this point in time, but the Orange County Department of Motor Vehicles mobile office will be returning to the Village of Warwick at the CVS parking lot entrance, and this will be on Tuesday, February 13th. So it's a week from tomorrow, and it starts at 10 a.m. and ends at 3:30 p.m. It's closed from noon to 1 for lunch. The last time it was here, we did a very high volume of business, and that's one of the reasons it's coming back so soon. So we're looking forward to having it here to serve our residents and save them a trip up to Goshen. It pretty much handles all of the DMV applications and paperwork to allow you to take care of your registration, driver's license. It's not a testing facility, so if it's something you need to do a test for, that's not going to happen there, but most other transactions are available.
Does that include the enhanced driver's license?
Yes.
That's great.
So, all right. I guess at this point, I can ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Any opposed? We're done. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
dear.
you.
A lot of reading,
Yeah.
Carly.
Thanks very much for your facilitation tonight.
Okay. The mayor's at a good spot, so.
Good, yeah, I'm looking forward to learning what he learns in Albany.